Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us. Looking around the globe for those 1,000 best practices, we're always trying to learn from other societies and how we can improve our own. We have Dale Medeiros, PhD. He is a senior regional planner with the Northern Virginia Regional Commission. And it's a very important organization that is transferring technologies from abroad into Northern Virginia and to be replicated across the United States. Dale, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much, Sam.
We're so glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about Northern Virginia Regional Commission, and then we have some exciting images that we want to share that shows what the work is that you're doing.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We're a regional council of governments. We represent the 13 local governments of Northern Virginia, everything in size from Dumfries, a few thousand, to Fairfax County. And my board is comprised of the mayors, the county commissioners, the local council members of the cities and towns of those jurisdictions. And I have the privilege of working with an omnibus portfolio focused on mostly climate, but all the relevant sustainability, economic and social issues as well.
And what we're seeing here in this map, there is a tremendous diversity, even in Northern Virginia. Tell us a little bit about the similarities and then the differences and why both of these are so important to be served.
Yeah, so it's important that the smaller local governments have a voice in sustainability issues. So we are a convener of those different voices. So we bring to the table Fairfax County, again, very large, very politically influential government, but also towns like Herndon and Leesburg. And together we work to address issues like renewable energy, stormwater, a whole range of social and related economic issues.
Well, I think it's really important, but looking at this is really cute. You do have a real purpose in showing these two images. Tell us what that is, and why do we need to learn the very simple lessons that we're looking at right here?
Thanks. Well, I think what really characterizes our sustainability work is the purposeful way in which we engage internationally. And that's relevant in the context of these images because international work, quite frankly, is disparaged, and rightfully so. It's seen as event-based kinds of activities that don't lead to any kinds of outcomes benefiting the work of a local jurisdiction, or in worst case scenarios, it's seen as frivolous, wasteful travel. It's junkets and boondoggles, again, that don't improve a city's wastewater treatment or help the city or county's education system or ameliorate drug addiction or improve the standard of living for the citizens, which demand better and stronger services from their local government.
Yeah, but the whole thing is what you're doing really is important, and you're trying to learn lessons from abroad and hopefully not duplicate the destruction and the negative impacts of it, but actually how to improve the lives of the local citizens. So what are we learning here that we can bring in from abroad that really does help?
So in the case of this particular image, it's simply to highlight that climate change is probably the most pressing environmental, social, economic challenge that we've got. And in the case of the city where I live, Alexandria, that's brought home every time the downtown floods. And the relevance of the next slide is, again, we as Americans tend to think that we have all the answers and that it's not really worth looking overseas to help us. And yet the scale of some of the challenges that we've got are absolutely massive. It's not just nuisance flooding or cleaning up in the aftermath of storm surge from hurricanes in the case of Alexandria, but literally bridges are collapsing, and it points to the importance of formally learning from what other countries do better than us.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think this is something very important, Dale, that we really realize that America does not have all the answers, and we do need to look abroad and to look at it very seriously. And also the social issues. How is this addressed through your regional commission? Just like we're looking at flooding and climate change and infrastructure.
Well, again, it's important to remember that the three-legged stool of sustainability is not just the environmental, it's the economic as well as the social. And despite the high levels of wealth, the high levels of education in Northern Virginia, our region, like other parts of the United States, has a lot of suffering. It's important in the context of addressing that suffering that also we learn from some of these really interesting, remarkable social programs overseas and find ways that we can apply them.
Mhm. And that's really very important. And I think this is really a wonderful image because we can say, well, it's very pretty, and we see the transportation aspects. But I think when you drill down, there's many lessons in this just one photograph.
Yeah, and it's not just the aesthetics of looking at a green set of tracks. It's the integration of multimodal transit concepts. It's the urban heat island mitigation. It's the noise abatement. It's the holistic approach that really represents, is embodied by so many cities, in this case, like Freiburg, Germany, from which we can learn.
Mhm. Now, looking at this photograph, let's just stay here for just another minute. Looking at this, what can we actually incorporate into the cities as we currently have them constituted in Northern Virginia or downtown Washington, D.C., Southern Maryland? How do we do that so that we actually have these improvements? We can actually learn from it, but increase and enhance the quality of life for all the citizens that you have in your Northern Virginia Regional Commission.
Well, that's a really good question, and we can get into that later in parts of the discussion. Simply put, it means more than just looking at a pretty slide like this. It means putting together the right groups of planners, the right groups of technicians, the right groups of elected officials to take images like this and then figure out how a suitable adoption process, in the case of Washington, D.C. and K Street, light rail can be adopted. And that's in fact what actually happened. Or how we can take other examples and using the same formula, figuring out the ways in which these got developed and applied abroad, how they fit into the unique cultural, technical, environmental planning context of Northern Virginia.
Mm-hmm. I think it's wonderful. Looking at the renewable energy, this is something that's very important because Europe is dependent on virtually all of its outside resources. What can we learn for Northern Virginia from the examples they have, say, in Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, many other countries that actually are switching almost exclusively into renewables?
Oh, that's a great question. And that's the subject of a whole nother Emerald Planet television interview with you, Sam.
I just knew you were planning the next one.
That's right. But the short answer to that is it's already being done. This is an image from a wind farm just outside Stuttgart, Germany, with which we worked very closely for many, many years. And the 20-year conversations that we've been having with the Germans have actually helped inform and translate large amounts of policy changes, not just in our region, but across the Commonwealth and the country. Virginia now has aspirations to build the largest offshore wind farm in the United States. It's been informed in part by some of the work that we've been doing with the Germans and other European countries for the past 20 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Incorporating into the aesthetics, solar energy, renewable energy, why is that important and how can it be done with the existing structures that we actually have in this region?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Virginia now actually has a climate target, and we aspire to be climate neutral by 2050. and yet we have a fraction of the renewables that we need to apply to reach that target. So it's not just the muscle and the excitement that we need to bring from within our own local governments and communities. It's how we strengthen our own domestic programs by looking abroad. It's the holistic approach that, again, from cities like Freiburg, that we draw and learn. We're not going to make it on the current trajectory unless we study and understand how we adopt and accelerate the applications of renewable energies. So that's everything from the research side of things to green design, to the holistic approach that cities like Freiburg have used.
I think it's fantastic. This is really a very beautiful image, something we've been working on with Washington, D.C. as far as the stormwater and groundwater control, capture, and processing. But this is really a beautiful aesthetic, but yet it's very practical.
Yeah, this is from Potsdamer Platz in Berlin, and the landscape architect that developed that actually helped us with a 4-mile run watershed restoration program. It highlights again that the power of natural systems. You don't have to rely on just purely mechanical. You can rely on creative designs, green infrastructure that will help us treat our water, purify it, and also create places that we need to, that we want to go to in our cities.
Now, looking at this, how is this really helping as far as this balance of the land, water, and air, as far as purifying it and making it a better environment for all citizens that live here and live in this existing city?
Yeah, so this is an interesting system where the rain waters, the storm water from the roofs or from the plazas are captured and treated through this natural treatment system before they're discharged into the canal and ultimately the Spree River.
That's fantastic.
Everything
It's a very interesting structure here. We're just about out of time, but looking at this, what are we doing? What are we seeing here that's so important on, again, this balance between environment, economy, and civil society development?
Yeah, I think the simple answer is it's the beauty of holistic design and inclusion. It's a playground that functions environmentally, but also socially. It's multi-generational, it's multifunctional, mitigates urban heat, but also includes many, many different generations and peoples. And I think that that's the virtue of that kind of planning from which we can learn.
Yeah, and this is something I think, Dale, that's very important, that all the generations get to come together to learn from each other and do it in a very holistic manner. Looking at your Northern Virginia Regional Commission, what do you see over the next 5, 10, or 15 years? We have to be quick. We've got about 30 seconds as far as moving forward and internationalizing this area in a very positive manner.
I think to sustain the really purposeful, structured, strategic work that we've done. We have a plan. We have 3 core components that comprise that plan of international engagement. And it's unilateral transfers of lessons, it's strategic focus on a handful of priority countries with which we work, and partnerships with our region's academic, science, cultural, commercial institutions, and civil society organizations to help us accelerate the transfer and adoption of those innovations from overseas.
That's absolutely fantastic. This is Dale Medeiros, PhD, with the Northern Virginia Regional Commission. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Thank you so much.